Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm really excited to be participating in this collab video, this loop tagging, this teacher loop tag video. It's all new to me, in all honesty. I've actually never even collabed with anyone before, and so when Florence at Teacher Tales reached out to me, I was like, I'm totally on board. And then, well, I started Julying, and before I knew it, she was like, are you still interested? And I was like, of course I am. I'm usually not this much of a space cadet. But anyway, you guys, so I am participating in this loop tag, and I'm like 6th on the list. So you've already seen some amazing people, and you've just come from EJ Kafoople, Life in Kafoople Land's video, and I know it was amazing. And so, I mean, no pressure, but the pressure's on. And so I am super excited to do this collab. It's like my very first collab, you guys, and I'm really pumped for it, and I'm really excited about it, and I just really hope I don't let anyone down, and oh my God, the pressure, it's building, but I'll be okay. I can handle it. And so anyway, you guys, enough kidding aside, I am super pumped. This tag collab video came about because of a fellow YouTuber, and her handle is Teach Like a Girl, and I actually have never heard of her before, but you guys, she is insanely funny. She's got great online personality. Like, she's pretty amazing, actually. Like, I'm really excited for her channel. And so because of this, now I get to do this collab video. And why am I rambling? I don't know. Let's get into the questions, shall we? Okay, so for most of you, like, your first year wasn't so long ago, right? Well, I mean, don't let my youthful appearance fool you. My first year was 14 years ago, and I actually have an interesting situation because I don't have one first year of teaching. I actually have two. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, there's no way you can have 2 years of your first year. Like, that's not possible, but in my world it is. So I'm gonna try my best to explain to you how it was and how I had 2 first years. So I taught down in Costa Rica as my first like full-time, like real experience in the classroom. And then I also had my first year in the States, and because they are so completely different, I'm gonna consider them both my first years. So technically, if you're thinking, no, that's wrong, you're right, but just go with it. Okay, so shall we get started? Okay, so let me be somewhat serious if I can. Okay, so my first year in Costa Rica was completely different than my first year in America, in California. So I really truly am having to kind of like think back 14 years ago, and I don't know, maybe I'm making it all roses, but it's tough to come up with some of these answers, but okay, I can do it. Okay, so here we go. Question one. Question one. There it is. There's my finger. Question one, you guys. Okay. What was your worst moment in your first year of teaching? Okay. So when I lived in Costa Rica, I taught 2nd grade. And I have to say, I really didn't have any moments that, and I am like going through my brain trying to remember from 14 years ago, like what would be the worst moment? What would be the worst moment? And I don't have any to offer you, in all honesty. Now, some of you might be hating on me for that answer, and that's okay, but I had an extremely small class size. I had 12 students, and you know, so I'm like racking my brain, what can I give you for my worst moment? So I think if I had to pick something, it would be that we had no curriculum, almost zero technology. And so I basically was responsible for creating an entire curriculum. I was the only second grade teacher. And so I was responsible for teaching a curriculum that didn't exist. So that was kind of tough. But I knew going down what second graders needed. They're working on their decoding. They need to know how to add. They need to know how to subtract. I was teaching them how to write, things like this. And so I was responsible for teaching basically English and math. And they had another teacher, a Costa Rican teacher, who would teach them also math and like social studies and that kind of science and those things. So I really was only responsible for a couple subjects. And so I just hit up those things pretty hard. Now, to completely contrast that experience, after my year was over, I said, I'm going back to California. I've got to clear my credential. I only have so much time to do it. And so I moved back after being in Costa Rica for a year, and I didn't have a job right away, and it was scary, and I bartended, and I was doing all these other jobs trying to find something, and eventually I got this job up in Riverside. And I was gung-ho for it. I didn't mind relocating or anything like that. I was just so excited that I had a job. And I remember getting offered 5th grade. And I was like, yeah, 5th grade, let's do this. I'm super pumped. And then I saw my numbers, and I was going to have 38 5th graders, which is insanity if you think about it. I mean, that's crazy. And I remember my mom and a couple other people were like, did they give you more students because you're brand new? And I was like, no, they gave the other 2 5th grade teachers 39 kids each. And so I remember going, no, it'll be fine. I can handle anything. This will be great. And so I remember walking in the first day and just looking at the sheer amount of children in my classroom. And I have to say, I don't get overwhelmed often. I handle things with stride. And I was like, what did I just get myself into? And I had to really dig deep that year to manage. And eventually it was brought to the district's attention that certain classes had a lot of kids, and their response was this. Their response was, as long as it averages out to 32, then we're not adjusting anything. Now, the way that my school was set up was it was originally like an annex. They needed extra rooms because the school was growing so much. So literally, we were separated from another school by a fence. That's it. And my friend who taught 5th grade, she had 23 kids in her classroom. Now, I was like 23 and I have 38. Eventually my numbers did drop. They dropped to I think 32. I'm getting choked up thinking about it. Not really. I just need a sip of water. Eventually my numbers did drop to 32, which was better, but that was the sheer volume of it was just, it was insanity, you guys. Like, I know certain teachers have a lot of kids in their classroom, but 38 is a lot to handle. And in addition to that, I taught in a bungalow that had no windows. It was a total fire hazard. And where I worked, the temperature was very similar to the temperature in Costa Rica. It was hot all the time. The temperatures would get to, 110, 112. And my friend who lives in Palm Springs is like, that's it? We have a good laugh about it and stuff like that. But anyway, and I remember my AC would break all the time, and I would watch the temperature rise and rise in the classroom, and it would get sometimes to be about 90 degrees in the classroom, and that's just not healthy for anyone. So I would take the kids, I'd say, take your silent reading books, we're gonna go outside, because always somebody got to the library before me, every single time. The library was the one place where the AC never broke, and if your AC broke, you went to the library first and you would teach in the library. But if somebody beat you there, then you were kind of out of luck. And so I had to really, truly think about my students and their health. And so I would take them, I'm like, you can read a book, you can rest, whatever you want. But I couldn't teach in those situations. And it was just unfortunate because it made life so much more difficult than it need be. God, that was a long answer. Question 2. Question 2 is, what was your best moment from your first year of teaching? So back to Costa Rica. When I lived in Costa Rica, I have to say one of the best moments was just meeting my class for the first time. I mean, there is nothing like meeting your students. But the crazy thing is, you guys, is that, you know, I didn't have a car when I lived in Costa Rica. I mean, you know, I just didn't. And so the teachers would be picked up. We all lived in different places around town. And so you would be on certain bus routes. And so we would get picked up and we would then pick up all the other students. So I would ride the school bus to school with my students. So I actually got to meet some of them before I had even started. So that was kind of cool. And then like just meeting them and seeing their little, you know, second grade faces smiling at you, and they're so excited. And then, you know, as the year progressed, it was like all of the parents at our school, or like not all, but many of them, they had prominent businesses in town and things like this. And I would be like walking around Costa Rica and people would be like, Teacher Katie. By the way, also go by Katie, but they'd be like, Teacher Katie. And all the Costa Rica senseis would be like, who is that girl? And I'd be like, hey, like super celebrity status, you guys. And it was kind of an experience like no other, you know? What was my best teaching moment from when I worked in Riverside? So I have to say that, you know, that experience was difficult on a good day. You know, it was hard on a good day. And it pushed me and my work ethic even harder than it already is. And I just remember like the kids really struggled academically. And so I have to say probably one of my favorite moments, and I think it's probably even still when it happens today, it's one of my favorite moments, is when you teach something to the kids and then they actually apply it in their own independent work, and they're like, and you're like, you got it, you did it, you know? That is like probably the best feeling as a teacher. And so I just really like, it was just a really like moment where I was like, I am doing it right. I'm doing something right, and they're getting it, and it's a great feeling. Question 3. What was your biggest regret from your first year of teaching? And I think you'll probably see, or maybe you can guess, that my biggest regret about my first year of teaching in Costa Rica was that I did not stay a second year. I should have stayed a second year. I had the best experience when I was down there. And it's one of those things that like you can never go back to the situation and it will ever be what it once was. But I do regret not staying an extra year. That's probably my biggest regret. As for in Riverside, I actually have a lot of regrets. I regret many things that happened in Riverside, and I don't even know where to begin, in all honesty. It was not the right fit for me. I regret that I was there as long as I was. I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that. I regret many things that happened at that school. Yeah. I regret so much about that experience. But, you know, experience is good, whether it be bad or pleasant or whatever, you still learn from it. And it really did kind of mold how I want to be as a teacher and what I'm willing to accept and things like this. And so, that would be what I would say for regrets. You now probably are like, what I'm not telling. It just was one of those things that when I decided to leave, it was like the most freeing, best experience. Like I just, when I decided to leave, it was like the biggest weight off my shoulders had been lifted, if that makes sense. That's all you're getting. Okay, on to question 4. And question 4 is, what do you wish you knew before you started teaching? And I don't have a compare contrast for this because I just don't. I think that what I'm about to tell you is just kind of good, sound advice. And so I think the most important thing to know is that it's all gonna be okay. I know a lot of you out there worry like, well, what if I don't get this graded in time? Or what if this doesn't happen? Or what if that? Or what? It's all gonna be okay. Trust me, it really is. Nobody is superhuman, right? Nobody is a superhuman as much as you wanna be. And I think that you just have to know that everything is going to work out. Just know everything will work out, and give yourself some slack. I think that's like the best piece of information that I can impart onto you before you become a teacher. Work hard, but just know it's all going to be okay. If you come in and you care about those kids and you're prepared, it's all gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay. And lastly, question 5, which I think actually is kind of similar, in all honesty. Let's hear it anyway. What advice would you give to a new teacher or somebody in their first year of teaching? And like I said, it's similar to question 4 for me. So newbies, and I can say that because I'm a veteran teacher, but newbies, I would say the best advice that I can give you is to breathe. Just breathe. And I say this because you're going to have a lot of things happening at one time. You're gonna have your admin, you're gonna have meetings, you're gonna have your team, you're gonna have your content that you need to teach, you're gonna have parents, you're gonna have your students, you're gonna have behaviors. And in all of that, you've got to somehow manage. And I think one of the best ways to manage is to breathe, like take it down a notch sometimes and not get so worked up. And I think that if you do that, you will find that the experience is all the more enjoyable. That doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard. That doesn't mean things aren't going to be stressful. That's not what I'm getting at. But I think I see too many brand new teachers and they are so worked up. What if I mark this wrong? Or what if I write this email wrong? Or what if I don't do this? And it's like, just breathe. It's literally going to be okay. And if it is not literally going to be okay, it's figuratively going to be okay. Either way, it's going to be okay. I think that's it. I think I answered them all. I'm actually kind of proud of how I answered those questions. I think I did a pretty good job. Yeah. So that's it. My tag video is over. I know that you're super disappointed that it's done, but I have good news, you guys. If you are loving these tag videos, and let's be honest, if you made it to me, I'm number 6, you must be loving them. You have no idea what's in store for you, because I get to introduce the next person in this teaching tag loop, and she's somebody that I've been watching on YouTube for a while now, and it's Apples and Tiaras, Charlotte at Apples and Tiaras, and I know that her video is going to be amazing, and you need to click down in that description bar down below and hit up that link and go watch her, because I know it's going to be a phenomenal video. And I just wanted to say to everybody that watched this, for everybody that's ever been subscribed to me or thinking about it or whatever, I'm so fortunate that you're all here. I'm so fortunate that Florence asked me to be a part of this collab, and I really hope that you kind of maybe gained some knowledge or wisdom or whatever, had some enjoyment, maybe a good laugh, I don't know. But anyway, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining me, and please get on over to Apples and Tiaras.